Well, you know, I think particularly within this world, a world of an action film, it's very important that the movie be sound and solid, that the foundation of it feel like there's enough for you to hang your character's hat on. And this was just, it worked from the second that I read it. Not only have I wanted to work with Michael Bay for a long time actually, and his movies really excite me, and they just feel like fun. He wrote me, sent me the script, and he said, read it, I think it's good, but I mean, we'll play around with it, And I was like, this works, and it really moved me, and I was so down for some fun. So all those pieces, I think Michael may have said to me, yeah, I was almost not going to do it, then you said you want to do it, so I guess we're going to do it, So I was like, oh, cool. But I think that all of those elements. Danny Sharp is a complex human being in that I think his intentions are that he grew up in a family where, bank robberies and heists were sort of normal, which sounds crazy, but it was true. And grew up with his brother, Will, who is an adopted brother. And really they were, like so close. And I think growing up in a family, there was so much chaos probably and discomfort. I think they found a lot of comfort with each other. And so in the years that have preceded Will leaving and then both growing up, they've separated in a lot of ways and don't stay in touch. And I think Danny is probably desperate for a connection and the love of his brother and the support of that. And so I think he's a character that is conflicted, is used to doing one thing. That one thing happens to be bank robberies and robberies. But I think his intention is to try and connect, and he loves his brother very much. So he's a complicated character, one that I think is loving, but a little bit misunderstood and misunderstanding about what that love is and how to put that into action, Don't rob banks. I just like how sort of mad he is, I mean, I like the idea of putting three different characters with different intentions in one very small space, going hundreds of miles an hour, adds a particular kind of, I don't know, there's something really fun about that. I think he's a whole lot of fun. I think he's unpredictable, which I always love in characters, and I always think leaves so much room, because not only is he unpredictable in what he's going to do in the big story sense, he's also unpredictable moment to moment in scenes. So you can make a lot of different choices. I love the idea of an audience feeling like they know a character and then realizing that they were wrong. So I love playing within that world, and that's what Danny is. Yeah, I mean, Will comes to Danny because he needs help. He's struggling, and his wife is sick, and he just needs to take care of his family, and he's been pushed to the edge. And Danny is his only choice, his only hope. And Danny wants to help. He loves his brother, and so the choice to go after this money is, with the intention of making sure that a system that was not allowing for his brother to, help his family at all, just like tied his hands and everything behind his back, to kind of break that system. And so the intentions between the two of them is to go rob this bank because he wants to help his brother. He also has other intentions, but I think ultimately that's what drives the whole film. And in the end, they get into a whole lot of trouble. And it becomes a moral tale, really, about what you do when your intentions are good, but everything goes wrong. Well, I mean, Yahya is lovable, I mean, he just is as a person, and he's an actor who is curious and is always asking questions in the same way that I do. So there was a simpatico in terms of how we always approach things. We're kind of always looking for we want something deeper, we're asking a different question. And that was fun, because I think it's possible in a movie like this to not ask those questions and to just go through. But I think both of us knew that the more we asked those questions and dug deep together, the more interesting the movie would be. And, you know, for an actor like him at, you know, the space he is in his career, you know, to have those intentions and to fight for them, I just adore that. And he's just got such a wonderful energy. It's positive and loving, and that's like, frankly, nowadays, that's what matters. So I adored working with him. Well, they're desperate, in a desperate moment, looking for a way out, got themselves in a whole load of shiz, and they somehow have a run-in with an ambulance, and their only way out is getting in that ambulance. And so they hop on, and there you meet Eiza González's character, and now they're stuck with this, you know, first responder with her intentions and their intentions. And that's really when the movie just like turbocharges, and it becomes a whole different story. I mean, a story I think about, it's wonderful because you're watching three different people with three different reasons to get where they're going, all opposing each other. Yeah, I mean, I think when you meet Cam, there's a wonderful scene at the beginning of the movie that Eiza is fantastic in. There's a little girl and who's wonderful in it too. And you realize that she's someone who is also struggling with having an emotional connection with all these very hard things she has to do as a first responder. And I think she, over time, the course of the movie, starts to realize that human beings are pretty profoundly complex and full of nuance. And as a first responder in emergencies, I think there's a lot of nuance in the job and the technicalities, but there's one goal, and it's very straightforward, and that is save the person. And over time, I think you start to see that she starts to make a relationship with both of these brothers. And over her making a relationship with them, she sort of becomes the ballast by which the whole movie can rest itself on. And you start to see through her eyes that, you know, good or bad, you know, you can care about everyone. And I really love the ending of the film. And I really think it's so different for a Michael Bay movie. And I think Eiza is incredible. The injured cop in that space was injured because of a mistake that he made in wanting to get away. So there's all these moral questions that happen, you know, that I think that are underneath all of it really, really interesting. It, in the end, is someone's fault, but it is sort of everyone's fault in a way too, and no one's fault. And that's what makes the movie so interesting. No, and I think as he gets pushed and as people want to hurt him and his brother and Cam, and, you know, he starts to feel for them and then has to defend them, and that's when things become very complicated, you know, in the decision. I mean, yeah, I mean, what I love about Danny as a character is that he says throughout the entire thing, don't hurt anyone. Like, he constantly says, you know, don't do this, don't do that. Now, it would seem, you know, confusing, because why would you rob a bank with weapons if you weren't going to do that? But I think the intention is always clear why you want to do it. But he's always saying, I don't want to hurt anybody, I don't want to hurt anybody, you know? But it's very complicated. I didn't know that Eiza was in the Spirit Untamed until we were like 3/4 of the way through shooting this movie. It was, and I don't even know if she may have told me maybe, but then I didn't realize what a beautiful singing voice she has until then. And, you know, I think, yeah, so I think we played a married animated couple that never met, because her character unfortunately dies at the beginning of the movie, and my character then, it's it's complicated. But so we never had any scenes together until we were in a Michael Bay movie where we were basically like on top of each other in each other's faces all the time, and at 100 miles an hour. So we had a good time. We had a good time. They were like we had a good time getting thrown around in a vehicle with sharp edges. I think shooting a film in the confines of an ambulance is nothing in comparison to a first responder, EMT doing their job on a daily, nightly basis, moment by moment, at faster speeds. I mean, it is there are sharp edges everywhere. There are wires hanging everywhere. I mean, obviously there's many things at your disposal to use to help save somebody's life. But, I found it to be so interesting when I tried to think about the reality of someone doing a job like that in a space like that. It's awe-inspiring. I mean, I think Michael is someone like many of the great directors that I've worked with who is searching for what feels alive, what feels present and alive. And he has a different technique from other directors I've worked with. He's shooting with extraordinary operators on a minimum of 3 cameras in almost every setup, and gives himself the agility to capture moments and improv and change and move around. And I think that energy is infectious in his movies. That's what makes them so alive. But you can start a scene with Michael thinking that it's about one thing, and if there's an actor in the scene, maybe the scene is about their character, but the other actor's bringing a different kind of energy that he's drawn to, the scene will become about the actor who is bringing the energy that's alive. And I think that is the same with any filmmaker of great stature that I've worked with. Like, they're looking for moments that feel truly alive. Michael generates them and also is just desperate for them. I adored acting for Michael. There was no space that was off limits in the emotional world. And, and he's very upfront and he's very direct and he's very clear. And I think as an actor, you start to appreciate that. Sometimes you just want slower, faster, right, left, and you get what they're trying to say. Simplicity of a comment can open up worlds, and Michael's like that. And most of the great directors I've worked with are like that too. Yeah, I was really moved by the movie. I was surprisingly moved by the movie. I think it's what I felt when I first read the script. I thought, this has a potential to have those feelings in it, and they are in the movie. And I love who becomes the hero in the end, the rightful hero in the end. And I was really moved. Yeah, I think that I think that there is a conversation in the film that's so important and so interesting, which is that these two people, these two brothers, who from the outside in a certain narrative would look like they're the bad guys, their intentions and why they do this and what they're doing it for is about communicating to a system that they have been just overwhelmed by, where they are powerless in. And I think that's why Danny says in the end, we are not the bad guys. Because I think he feels like, look at what these systems did to his brother when he's, and it's not the right way of responding, but I understand his argument somewhere. Oh man, I was filming a movie in Los Angeles in October of 2020 when Michael sent me the screenplay for this. And he said, I want to shoot this movie. I want to shoot it really quick. And we're going to make it for less. I've never made a movie for this little money. And this many days. It's crazy, but I'm going to do it. And what I loved was it's a film that pushed everyone, but particularly pushed Michael Bay in a space where he really had to prove himself in a different way, which was he had limited time, he had a limited budget for him. For me, it wasn't limited. One of the bigger films I've ever been in. But and And I think also doing it in a time when I think all of us in the film industry were worried about when people would get to make movies again, to watch a crew and everyone be excited to be working together again. And in Los Angeles, which is sort of the epicenter, at least of Hollywood, you know, to make a movie there was thrilling. And I had a great time. I think my first intention coming onto this project was to have fun, to bring fun to people watching it and to have fun myself. And I think we've succeeded at that. I definitely did.